I'd like to talk about the albums, the music,
Okay.
of course. I've read that the latest, the last record was the conclusion of a trilogy of sorts.
Yeah, in a sense. So the newest record, The Greatest Generation, which came out earlier this year, is lyrically finished off a few themes, and basically we've always kind of taken inspiration from life, from what happens around you, how people can feel on any given day and with any given experience. So over the course of the last 5 years that we put out those last 3 records, each time we put out a record, every 2 years or so, a lot happens in that period of time leading up to each one of those records. We did a lot of touring in between each one of those records, and a lot of personal relationships at home, viewpoints about our own personal lives and how we interact with other people around us. It all changes. It's growing up. It's that point, from being a teenager to being in your mid-20s. So as we grew, the themes and lyrics and concepts that we put forth on each one of those albums grows as well. So in a way, I think a lot of it is always linked together, one record to another. Even a lot of bands that don't realize it, but the music itself a band puts out might evolve over the years because they're evolving as musicians, they're evolving as songwriters. And I think it's the same way. We just took it in a more literal sense with the lyrics, and it evolved as we grow as people and experience what we experience from being in this band.
Were you very aware of this during the writing and recording process, or
We
is it in
didn't. No,
hindsight?
when we put out the Upsides, we certainly didn't set out to say, let's do a 3-record trilogy over the next 5 years. It kind of, like I said, it naturally evolved, and we looked at it, and when we started writing The Greatest Generation, we kind of started seeing that a lot of the things we were writing about then tied into other things that that we had written about and touched on the previous records. So we then kind of set out to kind of tie a lot of those loose ends together, because a lot of it, a lot of them were important, and to show the progression and see how a person's viewpoint of their life and the things around them in the world can change, and kind of sum it all up with this last record. Yeah.
Can you give me an example of something, an idea maybe that you had with the Upsides that developed?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did it. The last track on The Greatest Generation, it's called "I Just Want to Sell at My Funeral," and it pretty much does that, summing up, so to speak, very, very literally, in the sense that we take a lot of the most memorable, or what we looked at as the most memorable elements and musical portions from the entire record. Lyrically, some of the most important ideas and relevant ideas that Dan put forth in some of the songs, and the musical ideas and portions that accompany those. We wove them all together and kind of put them into a medley, almost trying to create an outro of sorts that brought you back and had separate reprises to the previous ideas and material at the end, and kind of wraps up the whole idea of just working to be a good person and put forth positive energy and change the world and better the world in any way you can, and just hoping that you're remembered for that you're, as an individual, as a group, as a community, as a generation, hope that when it's all said and done, you're remembered for something positive and making a positive change in any way you can. So that was kind of the way that we structured that to end this last record, and thus kind of that set of 3 records as it's been called.
I read somewhere that the inspiration for Dan in terms of the lyrics was very much something about feelings of angst, feelings of maybe insecurity. Was this true for the entire band? Could everybody?
Sure. Like I said, I mean, you know, Dan writes the lyrics, but we're, you know, these experiences and a lot of these emotions are ones that we share because we live with each other for 9-10 months out of the year, touring and being together, and a lot of it is the realization of being away from home for an extended period of time, coming back to the town that you've called home and seeing how things have changed and progressed, whether it's friendships at home, what other people you went to school with and knew years ago are doing now, how those things change, how that makes a person feel, so yeah, of course we share. You know, definitely end up sharing a lot of those feelings and thoughts that end up on the record because you know we all go through those same transitions as well together as a band, being away and coming home. So sure.
Is it difficult in that way then to bare your soul basically in front of an audience?
I think in a way I mean it puts it out there. You're being, you know, he's being very candid and being you know, putting a personal thoughts out there and feelings out there, but at the same time it keeps it honest. You know, we're singing and playing songs about what we know and about how we feel, you know. So in that way, it's a lot easier than trying to sing a song about something that you have no base of reference on, you know. And that's and years ago, actually an old music teacher of mine once told me, write about what you know when it comes to that. If you're having trouble writing something, write about what you know, because that's what's going to end up coming the easiest and end up coming across with the most honesty and the most power. And that's, I think, a perfect example of it. It's definitely personal and it's putting it out there for the world to see and hear. But at the same time, as long as that's how you feel and they're all genuine thoughts and feelings, then you can't.
Is this something that's noticeable in the reaction of the people? Do you hear comments from people that say, "I can relate to this"?
Sure, yeah, and likewise, you know, you get out here and once the songs are out, everybody and you know a lot of our fans end up having very personal attachments to whether it's one song or the album as a whole, and a lot of different scenarios or situations that are put forth. You find and hear from a lot of people that they have shared those situations, have shared those feelings. It's nice to hear that and get that kind of feedback, and certainly gratifying for us too, knowing that, you know, those kind of thoughts that we put forward in our music and that the lyrics that Soupy writes can have that kind of an effect and reach out and, you know, and kind of grab someone and catch their attention in an age where a lot of music is, you know, very, very streamlined a lot of times, you know.